should grow herbs. So everyone should grow herbs, and here's why. So the first thing we'll talk about is some of the herb classifications. So they're really classified according to how you're going to use them. So there's 4 basic parts. They could be medicinal herbs used for medicinal purposes, culinary, of course, for cooking, aromatic herbs, and ornamental herbs. And they're also
Deborah, should I share the PowerPoint at this point?
Oh, yes. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Okay, here we go. And then in the corner there's a pretty picture of rosemary. So they're also classified by whether they're annuals, which means that they only live for 1 year, biennials like parsley that grow 1 year and then come back a second year before they die, and then perennials, which can last a lifetime. So some of them also overwinter and bloom each season. So I'm just going to try to move this. I don't know, because I can see everybody's face and it kind of blocks the slides, but we can go on to the next one, the next slide. So herbs are actually one of the easiest plants to grow. They don't require a lot of space. They can be grown in all kinds of containers. They just need a sunny location, most of them. And they not only look great, they have beautiful flowers, but they smell great. And herbs, like I said before, rosemary or mint, smells really wonderful. And the nice thing about them is that they can be planted indoors in pots. And they are multifunctional plants, more so than house plants, in the fact that you can cook with them and you can make potpourris with them and you can use them for medicinal purposes, or you can add them to hot and cold drinks like lemonade or tea. Next slide. So I don't know if most people know the difference between herbs and spices. So herbs are usually the fragrant leaves of the plant. That's what is used. And they acquire their fragrance and flavor from the oils that evaporate into the air when the leaves are crushed. So like mint, for instance, if you crush those between your fingers, you'll get that smell on your fingers. And herbs, when it comes to cooking, should be added near the end of the cooking process for a more distinct flavor. Otherwise, they can lose some of their flavor. And spices are made from the fruit, seed, nut, bud, or bark, or root of a plant. And they can be pungent or aromatic. And some examples of those would be, seeds would be like nutmeg seeds. We have cinnamon, that would be the bark. So those would be some examples. And whole spices release their flavor more slowly, and they're ideal for using the dishes with longer cooking times, whereas the other ones would lose their flavor after a while. Next slide, please.
One second, I'm having a little trouble getting to it.
And let me know if I'm going too fast.
You're good.
Okay, good.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
All right, so when should you harvest your herbs? So when you can harvest them basically when they have enough foliage to maintain their growth and up to approximately 75%. You wouldn't want to take all the foliage because then it would take a long time to spring back and it could even harm the plant. The best time to harvest them is early in the morning after the dew dries, but before it gets too hot. And you usually want to harvest them before they flower because otherwise the leaf production declines. And herb flowers have the most oil concentration and flavor harvested after the buds appear, but not before opening. Annual herbs can be harvested until frost, where perennials can be clipped until late August, and then you should stop harvesting 1 month before the frost date. Next slide, please. So preserving herbs. There's many different ways that you can preserve the herbs. If you grow mint, you know that it grows crazy and you might have like tons of it. So a good thing to do is to harvest some of it and you could either freeze it, and the directions for freezing are to rinse them quickly in cold water, shaking off the extra moisture and then chopping it coarsely. And then they can be frozen in ice cube trays with water, or they can be spread out on a cookie sheet to freeze and then transferred into a large plastic bag. You would do it that way, so this way they don't all mat together, and then you just have one clump of herbs. And those are best used in cooking. Air drying, if the herbs are clean, you don't need to wet them. You would try to get off any dust or dirt from the foliage, and you can do that by just shaking it. And then you would spread it on a paper towel until all the moisture evaporated. And then, as you've probably seen in pictures all over, you could tie it in bunches and hang it in a dry place out of the sun and a place that has good air circulation. I also dry herbs with a dehydrator, and that doesn't take very long, 1 or 2 minutes on high, or you could do it in a conventional oven, but if you're going to do it in an oven, your oven needs to go below 170 degrees, and I don't know that everybody's oven can get that low. The thing is, you don't want to cook them, you just want to dry them. And you want to maintain, whatever oils that they have in them. Next slide, please. So storing the herbs. So they can be stored in a cool, dry place away from the sun. And you'd want to label them because things like marjoram and oregano might look the same in a jar. The ratio for using dried herbs to cook with is 1 to 3. For instance, if your recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of fresh basil and you only have dried, use 1 teaspoon of dried basil. And you can combine herbs to make your own personalized seasoning mixes. The advantage of that is that it wouldn't have all the sodium in it that a lot of the seasoning mixes have. And you can custom tailor it to whatever herbs that you like. Or you can make herb butters. Basically, you would just soften the butter and put some chopped herbs. You could put fresh ones in and then roll it back up or form it into a shape. You could even put it in a mold and make it look real attractive. You can do herbal vinegars. I grow lots of flowers too, and herbs. And basically, you just take the herb and you cover it with vinegar. And then you wait like 6 weeks or something, depends on how strong a flavor you want. And then you'll have your own specialized herbal vinegar. And you could do the same thing with oils. So it's basically the same process. You're just barely covering it and then letting it steep for a period of time to take on those flavors. So nasturtium works really great, and it's pretty. In a vinegar, I've made nasturtium vinegar. And yeah, there's different oils and stuff you could make as well. There's really endless possibilities. I guess whatever your imagination and whatever herbs you have available as to what motivates you to put together these delicious additives to your foods. And I don't know about anybody else, but the herbs that you get in the supermarket, if you buy them dried, don't taste hardly good at all. I mean, compared to fresh herbs. So, and they would last longer if you're drying them properly. So those are some of the reasons I hope that will encourage you to grow your own herbs. Like I said, it's very easy to grow. You can grow them all year long and then, you know, pick them as you need them for cooking or potpourris or oils or vinegars. Yeah, just endless possibilities. So that's the end of the slides. If anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer questions.
I have a question, Deborah.
Sure.
This is Betsy.
Hi.
You said freezing herbs. Do all herbs freeze well?
No, not all of them do. Some of them, the better herbs to freeze would be like mint. I would freeze because just of the consistency of it. Trying to think what else.
Well, so for example, basil, parsley, rosemary.
Yeah, parsley you can do. Basil is kind of tricky because it's so soft. I don't know that that would make a good way to preserve that.
In oil, you know, like a
Oil would be
pesto.
better.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
And what kind of vinegar? I mean, I realize you could probably do whatever you wanted, but what kind of vinegar would you recommend to use if we were pouring it over herbs?
So I would recommend using the apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. So that, you know, it's sort of fermented to get the best nutritious value out of it.
The mother is that cloudy stuff floating around in it that makes you want to
Yeah,
throw it away, even though you probably shouldn't, because that's the good stuff. Is that right?
right. Yeah. So it's usually Bragg's. If they're still making it with the mother in it, those are the best. But it's also your preference too. You can use white vinegar as well. And if you're going to use herbs for like tinctures or things like that, they actually put the herbs in vodka, 80% vodka to make like tinctures. So that's more medicinal.
I think the vodka is the medicinal part.
Yeah. But just think of flavored vodka. Yeah.
So how long, for example, would you leave something in vodka as an example? I mean, obviously you'd have to make a big sacrifice and taste it every once in a while.
Well,
but how long till you get some impact?
Well, actually, most of the things that I've read, and I just started tincturing myself because I'm expanding my own herbal garden, is around 6 weeks for it to take on the flavor.
Okay.
So, but you know, you can look up there are websites that you can get additional information about herbs. There's like the American Botanical Council. They educate the public about the safe use of plants. There's the American Herbalist Guild. They have a membership and they do webinars, symposiums, and you could become a registered herbalist if you're interested. They have the United Plant Savers. They have an increased demand for wild medicinal plants. There's Herbalists Without Borders, Herb Rally. There's a whole bunch of different websites that you can refer to get specific information about specific herbs.
Deborah, this is Leslie. I just discovered that my calendula and my cilantro and my dill have all self-seeded and are coming back in force
Yes.
in one of my garden beds. And are there other herbs and medicinal flowers that self-seed so easily that you know of?
Well, I noticed that in my garden, and it depends on where you live really, but
Yeah.
like parsley, it's a biennial.
Right.
But I grew that as a companion plant to asparagus. And it's only, well, it flowered the second year. And then I cut off the flowers, but I didn't pull up the plants. And I noticed that it's growing again this year. So, and I'm hoping that some of my nasturtium reseed as well, because I've used that to make capers, nasturtium capers,
Yeah,
nasturtium
nice.
vinegar.
Nice.
There's all kinds of things.
And
Is-
the I'm sorry. So by self-seeding, I mean, so what I do is I just let one or two of the plants, or as many as I don't get to,
Right.
go to seed, and then the seeds fall and overwinter and germinate in the spring. You mentioned companion planting. Are there,
Yes.
you know, I bet everybody puts basil with their tomatoes and
Right. That's the usual one.
you know, but I'm a firm believer in every vegetable has some herb next to it.
Yeah, well, that's a good practice. I'm noticing too that herbs planted with your trees can have beneficial
Oh,
properties as well. So what they tell you is in like master gardener classes and that is that if you grow, instead of just monocropping, growing all the same thing, and you mix it up a little and you have herbs growing in and different vegetables together, it sort of confuses the bugs that attack the plants. So they recommend that you plant something sort of aromatic to
yeah,
confuse the bug
yeah,
to go after that aromatic plant. It's sort of like a catch plant, they call it.
yeah.
So they'll go to that and then they might leave your annual vegetable alone. So they're finding out that planting things together has a lot of benefits. Like they do that in permaculture, and it's just less hassle, I think. And the important thing is to not leave any ground exposed. You can plant closer together. They used to say, oh, you had to have so many spaces in between this and that, but it's actually better if you're planting things together.
Closer together. Yeah,
Closer together, yeah.
yeah,
So there's
So-
things like borage and I forget
right.
what the other one is that helps trees and stuff because of the deep taproots, as
Ah,
does dandelions. Like everybody wants to get rid of their dandelions, but they're great for, I know somebody that made dandelion jelly and they said it was really sweet. I haven't tried it. I've tried dandelion wine one time when I was younger, but it exploded, so I didn't get to try that. Dandelion vinegar, but they
Yeah.
also have the deep tap roots that help, you know, especially in my area in Freeville, it's hard clay and it doesn't drain very well. So that helps break up the soil, and you can roast the roots, you can eat the leaves in salads. So they just have a lot of uses.
So, Deborah, back to the companion, keeping bugs away.
Yeah.
Are there very specific pairings, other than, for example, you said aromatic, but the way you plant marigolds among the tomatoes, supposedly,
Yes.
do you have specific pairings that you would recommend?
Well, there are lists, like Mother Earth News might have a list for you. I don't have the list in front of me, but there are, you know, a bunch of different ones that they recommend that you plant together. I don't have all of them. There's a lot, but think of it in terms of when you cook, what herbs go
Mhm.
with the vegetable that you're growing, right? So dill and pickles, dill pickles, right? So dill and cucumbers together, you know, carrots and dill, I think, go well together as well. So if you think of it in terms of what you would eat together, it has a reason why those things pair well together.
But that wouldn't necessarily be a particularly stronger bug deterrent. It's just
No,
it's
no,
a cooking convenience. It's an obvious thing, yeah. So,
yeah. And
and
it might have some you know, pest control as well. But I always plant with nasturtium is really good to plant in with your vegetables, as is marigolds, because the bugs don't like the smell of the marigolds.
yeah, yeah.
I find that calendula is amazing too because it's
Yes.
sticky. And I put it everywhere and it'll come back and back and back.
Yeah, and then they have like I don't know if you've seen walking onions.
Oh
They're
yeah.
Egyptian onions, and they self-seed themselves. And anything that has a strong odor like onions and garlic and stuff, you can't plant garlic with everything, but they are deterrents to certain pests and stuff.
So
Although
any,
this,
like chives and things like that.
right. So this year, unfortunately, I heard that the cicadas are coming in May. So they haven't been around for hundreds of years. And there's two different varieties that are coming. So I'm not sure if they'll hit this part of New York, but they're expected to come in droves. And the best thing to do, I don't know if they eat vegetables or lay their eggs on the vegetable plants, but I know that young trees they will, and they'll probably kill them because there's like just so many of them. So
Wow.
it's something to think about. They make a lot of noise, so you'll know when they're here. So I guess just you could call the cooperative extension or something and see, you know, if there's any sightings. I know that last year I had problems with stink bugs,
Oh God.
and they just killed beautiful, healthy zucchini plants,
Oh
sucked the
wow.
moisture out of them. There's nothing left. It was awful. So you're always fighting with something.
Yeah. Deborah, can I go back with a quick question on the drying of the herbs? You mentioned
Sure.
conventional oven and you mentioned hanging them up, which is
Yep.
what I do. But in the slide, it said microwave. And does that work? Because I think of microwaves as kind of adding moisture sometimes rather than.
Well, you know, I thought I took the microwave out because I'll tell you, I don't use a microwave at home for anything. It was in the information that I got, and I personally wouldn't use a microwave, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I haven't
Yeah.
tried it with the microwave. I do mostly mine in an Excalibur, one of those expensive dehydrators. Or you
Mhm.
can make a solar dryer,
Right.
you know, in your yard. I don't think it's that hard to make, but. Any other questions?
Carol,
Yeah, I have a question about asking if there are any herbs that do well with some shade, because I've got so many trees and I have deer, as many
Uh-huh.
of us have, and so, but I have a screened-in porch.
Okay,
I would like to plant some in containers and keep them
Right.
on my porch, but the sun gets filtered. Is there
Right.
anything that would do well?
yeah, I'm gonna just look up quick a list, see if I can give you a list.
Yeah,
Because-
and actually, this is to the group. If anybody
Right.
else, in addition, has any information, are there
Sure.
any herbs that are a deer repellent? I mean, I can't imagine that we wouldn't have heard of them if there were, but
So herbs that like the shade anyway are parsley. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Chives, lemon balm. I don't think the deer like lemon balm. Citrusy stuff, I think, keeps away some of the critters. Tarragon, cilantro. I'm reading the more common ones. Thyme, oregano, and mint.
so those all do well in filtered sun.
Yeah.
I could see the cilantro doing really well because that's so delicate. If you put it out in the sun, it fries.
You know what's weird though with cilantro? It actually overwintered in my garden.
Hmm.
So yeah, and also kale did too. Now, when I lived in other parts of New England and stuff, it never did, but out here for some reason, it overwintered. So I cover a lot of my herbs and stuff with leaves and, good mulch and stuff. So maybe that's why they made it through the winter. Let's look up the most deer resistant herbs. They seem to eat everything because
Yeah.
they eat not only the hosta, but the daylilies. They love the daylilies and they'll mow them down in my yard.
Yeah.
So deer resistant herbs, they're saying lavender, rosemary, sage, thyme, dill,
Simon and Garfunkel.
yeah,
Sorry.
chives, lemon balm, marjoram, and oregano. It says, keep in mind that while these herbs are deer resistant, they might not be completely deer proof. So what that means is that if they're really hungry, they'll probably eat anything that's edible.
Or if they happen to be strolling by,
Yeah,
just to piss you off.
probably. Yeah. So,
do you have a favorite place to purchase? Like I am not somebody who likes to grow things from seed inside in the winter.
Oh.
I don't have space or actually the patience for it, but so I either have to direct seed or buy the starts. Do you have a favorite spot
well,
for
having
purchasing?
been a master gardener and master composter, the cooperative extension is going to have another plant sale at the
plant
farmers
sale.
market.
Yeah.
So these are lovely women that donate a lot of their own plants. So I don't tend to buy a lot at nurseries because I have all the equipment to grow it at home. I buy my seeds from Pine Tree Garden Seeds. They're in Maine. And what I like about them is, one, their shipping and handling is very cheap. And two, you don't have to buy a whole bunch of seeds. You'll get smaller packages. So I think they're the most cost-effective place to get seeds. And if you have a problem with a packet of seeds, they usually refund your money or give you
Oh.
something different.
What's the name again? Pine Tree
Pine Tree Garden Seeds. Let me just see if I can
Garden
find the
Seed.
information.
And out of where? What state?
It's in Maine.
Maine. Okay.
What's your favorite herb and why? And
Okay.
3 paragraphs with the
Yeah.
topic sentence and a conclusion.
Okay, let me just give you, so it's Pine Tree Garden Seeds, superseeds.com. And I would highly recommend them. I've been buying from them for years.
They would supersede other vendors. Ha ha. Couldn't-
Well, I love, like, what is it? I have a million herb books and seed catalogs, but some of them, even burpees, you have to have a minimum balance of whatever to get free shipping. And it turns out to be most costly. If you're going to get trees and stuff, if you can get neighbors together to order from Fedco,
Yeah.
that's always great. They have a great variety of, trees, bulbs, and all kinds of equipment and fertilizers. As far as my favorite herbs, I'll tell you, I love lavender. And there's so many different varieties of lavender. And the reason why I love it is because, first of all, it helps you relax. It's great to smell. You could put it on your pillow and it induces sleep. And my mind's always racing, so that works for me. So I love calendula. What else? Rosemary, I kill. I don't know what it is. I get new plants all the time and they never make it to the next year. So what else? Oh, cilantro is my very, very favorite cooking herb. You could put that in not only Mexican food, but Asian food, Thai food, and it actually, some people hate it. I happen to think it's like wonderful. You might see me in the supermarket sniffing the cilantro at Wegmans.
I love it too, but other people, it's like genetic, whether you're repulsed by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, isn't that weird? Because I just love it.
But the funny thing is people say it tastes like soap, and I agree, but I like the taste.
And I don't even think it tastes like soap, but I just love it. I don't know why.
I think it tastes like ivory soap, but I still like it. I don't know. Maybe it'd be cheaper to buy a bar of ivory and
Yeah, I don't
deliver
know.
it onto
I
my
don't-
Thai food. Oh,
So,
what is your favorite tea or tisane, and what is the difference between them? By the way,
what did you say? A different
tea and tisane, tisane.
I'm not familiar with Tisane.
Okay. Anybody else know that? You see that? It's probably just a snooty way of describing tea and
Oh,
charcoal.
I'm
But
all natural.
yeah. Um,
Favorite tea. I love chai tea. I love the spices. And I recently found out that if you just put cinnamon in hot water and make a tea out of that, just powdered cinnamon, that it helps regulate blood sugar. And I think it has a delicious taste. So I like cinnamon, but chai tea is my favorite. Different kinds of mint tea also. And then I had a blend one time of mint tea. It was and lemon verbena. So it had a nice lemony mint flavor. It was great.
okay, so tisanes are not a true tea. True teas are black, green, oolong, yellow, or white, made from the tea plant Camellia sinensis.
Okay. Well, that's good. Thank you for
So
looking
the
that up.
tisane is, anything for teas made from anything outside of the tea
All
plant.
those herbal teas that we
Those like blueberries, presumably, and things like that.
Yeah,
so
maybe. Yeah.
mint.
I
Yeah.
find that a lot of the herbal teas that you buy, they kind of taste like dishwater to me. They don't really have a strong enough flavor. But recently also I've been getting into dandelion tea because that's good for your liver.
So it's while we're on the topic of dandelions, because I have a ton.
Everybody does, it seems.
I won't put down Roundup or poison or anything.
Oh,
So
God, no.
what can you use all parts of it? And do
Yes.
people have experience sharing, because I've never done anything with them.
Yeah, so a dandelion, you can use the flowers. You can eat the flowers, put those in your salads and stuff like you can nasturtium and calendula. And violets, those, you could use the flowers. Dandelion roots, they dry them and they grind them and make them into a coffee substitute. You can eat the leaves if you pick them when they're tender, small. They're not as bitter, so they can also be eaten in salads too. So pretty much the whole plant you can use, and you can make vinegars and wines and
And the
Nothing in-
greens, you
No-
can use the
nothing-
greens in salads.
Yeah, but nothing in cooking. I mean, has like stir-fried dandelion leaves or something like that.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
With your nettles.
Yeah.
So nettles, that was the other thing. I
I
somebody
don't
was-
have a lot of experience with nettles. I was hoping that I'd have some kind of nettles in my yard, but I don't think I have any. But nettles are really good, dry for teas and stuff like that. And I guess you can eat them in salads and stuff. I'm just learning myself now about foraging wild edibles, because as a gardener, every year is a challenge with the weather. And it gets worse every year, it seems. Either the bugs or the climate, extremes, all that stuff. So what I'm researching is wild edibles. So dandelion would fall in that category, as well as like purslane, nettles,
Mhm.
sorrel.
sorrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
garlic
those
mustard.
Garlic
Yeah.
mustard, yeah.
So
so
I have not tried to eat any of those other than dandelion, but I'm definitely interested in foraging for those, because when all else fails and there's nothing else out there, you can always count on the wild edibles. When you think about it, they're not bothered by pests, and they're not bothered so much by climate change either. They seem to like be so prolific. I mean, my whole lawn now, I just got my grass mowed the other day, and now the whole lawn is dandelions. That just means that my soil's really poor. But they're beautiful though.
So Jean, what do you do with the garlic mustard?
I just pulled it today, so I'm not sure. It's a little old. The stems are hard right now, and it's already bloomed.
Oh,
So I'm not sure, but I cleaned them off and I put them through the strainer. So we'll see what the next step is. I think I'll have to
Yeah.
mix them with something else to maybe make a pesto or something.
Mm.
yeah, that's the other thing that you could make with some of these herbs are pestos.
Mhm.
So in other words, that for example, dandelion leaves, if you get them when they're too old, they don't become dangerous. They just become bitter.
Yeah, extremely bitter. So
Yeah.
it says garlic mustard's a biennial or winter annual. And it says it's highly invasive. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's supposed to be harvested when young. It says older plants should be cooked thoroughly due to increased toxicity.
See,
I
that's
didn't
what,
know that. So that's
Yeah.
something to look at.
That's-
It's
that's the
always
thing.
always best to read up on it just to be sure. And I have a couple of apps on my phone, which I learned from some people that I garden with, like cooperative extension people. There's a couple of apps that helps you identify plants. So one of them is called Picture This.
Mm.
and you just click on it and it'll take a picture of whatever you're looking at, and then it'll try to identify what it is. And then this way you'll be sure, before you start picking things out and eating them, if you're foraging. And then the other one is iNaturalist. And that's another one. I think they want you to
That's
buy.
the letter I,
Yes.
naturalist. Okay.
Yes. Small I, there's like a dove next to it, and then the word naturalist. And I think they want you to buy a subscription, but I found a way around it that I still am taking pictures. I think they have a trial and then they want you to, subscribe. But that's the best way to identify. Sometimes even when I plant seedlings, I might not have all the ones come up in one area, and then I'll be mixing them, then I'll forget what they are. So then I have to look and identify, unless you know what the leaves are. When they're small, sometimes it's hard to identify.
Mm.
You might have covered this, but if you have a parsley plant, for example, growing outside in like a big pot, and then before and you take that parsley plant or part of it and put it into a small pot, that's the way you can bring it in for the winter. It'll make it that way if you divide it, for example, because most people wouldn't bring a big pot into their house.
Yeah, you can divide it so long as you have a decent amount of roots. And sometimes you might need to root it in water. But people have told me that they use willow branches as sort of a rooting hormone.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody else has heard of that, but they use the branches and they put those in water, and that makes a rooting hormone. So, but even cilantro, I think you could do that with, bringing part of the plant inside. But you better be careful that you're not bringing in those fruit flies or whatever it is. It seems like when you bring stuff in from outside, you get stuff come in the house.
Mm.
So wash it off real good.
Mm.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much, Deborah.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
This has been wonderful. And I wonder, could we share just among members, share your PowerPoint for folks who might be watching the,
Sure.
I mean, you can watch the video, but if anybody wants the PowerPoint, we can make that available. Great.
Okay. Yeah, and I
Yep.
feel free to email me. I have lots of information on herbs and tinctures and
Thank
stuff.
you.
I could give you at least some websites to check out other things.
Wonderful.
So, Deborah, some of the things, the websites you've cited, could you send those to Leslie, and then maybe she could share it with the group? Is that okay,
Sure.
Leslie?
Sure. I have Pine Tree Garden Seeds website and I know Fedco, and I know the apps too. So if there's anything else you think of.
All right.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention something really important is my website.
All right.
So I have my own website where I provide all kinds of cooking and catering services, as well as meal planning and dietary substitutions and stuff. It's called Lifestyle Eating with 2 E's, lifestyleeating.com. And there you'll see when I didn't have white hair, so don't be saying, oh, she doesn't look like that anymore. But yeah, so I have testimonials there for all the catering jobs that I did, and people that I've cooked for, and a little stuff about my communal garden. So I have a garden that I started at my property. It's a little over an acre, and it's fenced in, and I'm growing perennial vegetables like asparagus and strawberries and stuff, fruits and vegetables, and grapes and figs and stuff. And how it works is that you don't have to pay anything. you just share in the gardening chores and then you share in the harvest. And at some point, I'd like to have presentations on different gardening methods, cooking demonstrations, and then hopefully some potluck meals just to build community. So if you're
Beautiful.
in the area, I'm at 138 Wood Road. I'll be happy to give you a garden tour.
Deborah, I don't know if you knew that Love Living at Home has, all of these interest groups, including one called Foodies. I could just see a fall harvest meal
Yeah, that would be nice.
on site in a garden.
Yeah, so I do belong to the Foodies. I guess for me, I'm not able to participate in the drop boxes for the food, but I'm happy to share whatever extra produce I have. Hopefully this year will be a good year. I don't know so far. Most of my plants had some kind of trauma, but I have lots of marigolds this year. So I'll have to find things to do with marigolds. Maybe make some sobs and stuff.
Well, I have lots of deer. I've been busy growing deer. So
Yeah, me too. They love my yard. They have the whole family come right through.
They are so smug.
I know. They don't even get scared. If it isn't the deer, though, it's the rabbits.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad I'm not a hunter.
Yeah.
I could be eating for free.
I now sympathize with Farmer McGregor.
Yeah, definitely.
Peter Rabbit is no longer a friend.
Right.
Anyway, well, thank you
Well,
so much.
You're
Deborah.
welcome. We'll talk to you again soon.
We
Yeah.
Thank you,
sure hope
Deborah.
so.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
And thanks
Deborah.
for helping, Leslie.
Sure thing.
Appreciate it.
Happy
Yeah.
planting.
Thank you,
Yep.
everybody, for showing up. And I can't wait to share each other's gardens with each other. We have to send in pictures of your gardens and your herbs now.
All right. All right. And even if you need some samples, I got tons of lemon balm. I'm
Ooh,
planting it everywhere because it's great in between trees and stuff.
it is. I
And
love
the
it.
deer
I
won't
like
eat it.
it's my favorite sun tea. Lemon balm sun tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, have a
Thank
great
you.
afternoon.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.